Dinner and a Book is supported by the Rex and Alice A. Martin Foundation of Elkhart, celebrating the spirit of Alice Martin and her love of good food and good friends.
Chef Erin French takes an unflinching approach in her memoir, Finding Freedom, Remaking a Life from Scratch, published in 2021. From her tween years literally slinging hash in her father's diner, to the challenges of toxic relationships, to her evolution into a beloved entrepreneur in small-town Maine, French tells all. I'm so glad to be sharing the kitchen with Ben Futa, owner of the Botany Shop, to discuss this gritty and gastronomically focused memoir. Welcome, Ben.
It's my pleasure to be here.
So you immediately thought of this book as something to do on the show. Why?
I did, and it's because I resonate so deeply with Erin's experience as an entrepreneur, as a business builder, and also just her food. Her flavors are phenomenal.
Well, and speaking of which, what are we going to make today?
Yes, so I'm going to be making Erin's roasted buttercup squash with apple slaw, and then a chicken with black beans recipe that is a family recipe for us that, of course, has been doctored and changed and evolved over time as well.
Okay, and I'm going to be making her fresh celery soup from her Lost Kitchen recipe book, and then a pomegranate and cucumber salad with some mint. That'll be a nice little pop on the side of all of this. So tell us what you're getting started with, and I just have to confess, as a vegetarian, this sizzling pan of bacon smells outrageous.
Yes. So we've already cooked off the bacon. This is going to be used in both recipes, and so the biggest, most critical thing for me with this is we're saving the fat. The fat is what matters the most for especially the next phase of what we'll be doing. So I'm just taking it out with a slotted spoon so that we can utilize the pan a bit later.
All right, and I'm just starting the celery soup by collecting some of the beautiful fresh celery leaves, which have so much flavor in them, and we're going to use those on top as a little garnish. Erin French really likes making things that are beautiful.
She does, yes. Presentation matters.
Yes. So this is a memoir, but it's more than that. We really see, well, how would you describe kind of the big picture of this book?
I think you might have used the word unflinching in your introduction, and I think that's pretty accurate. But I think what is most both eye-opening and refreshing to me is that she's not sugarcoating this journey of entrepreneurship, because it's not for the faint of heart. And I think especially she gets to this notion of really knowing yourself and understanding what matters to you and how you find balance, because that's if you don't have those things clarified before opening a business, it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough.
Yeah, so the small business, not small, independent.
Local and independent.
Local and independent.
My two favorite words.
That aspect is also really parallels what's happening inside as she talks about her evolution. So let's maybe talk about some of those early scenes in the book in her father's diner, which are a little harrowing.
Yes, well, and it just so happened as I opened the book, just as we were getting started, I opened the page of her frying bacon in the diner.
Oh, really?
So talk about a little
magic.
A little bit of magic, yes. But yes, she started out very early on in her father's diner, learning how to run the grill and be basically a short order cook and keep up with the high demand of running a diner. And that's sort of where it all began for her. So much of what she's built through the Lost Kitchen and everything since has been sort of grounded in nostalgia and this deep personal relationship to food and making people feel warm and comfortable and welcome, which I think is really, food and plants superpower together.
Yes, very nice, very nice. Yeah, she learns timing in the diner, and even though the diner food, it is just diner food, but she understands very early on the importance of timing, the importance of making things with somebody particular in mind, and even in those early stages here, and I'm just going to chop up some onion and garlic to be part of the base of this. What are you?
So I'm whipping together the dressing for the apple slaw, and if you haven't noticed, I'm a very shoot from the hip chef, which is why I'm not a baker, because that doesn't translate to baking quite as well. But
a slaw.
But a slaw, a little bit more olive oil, a little bit more vinegar. It's fine. The nice thing is, if you're making this at home, make it to taste. It's an easy one to evolve in that way.
And probably that slaw could go on the side of other things as well. I'm
absolutely.
super excited.
And part of what I love so much about these recipes together, the chicken with black beans and the salad, is they both utilize the oven at 350. They both use the bacon and the bacon
nice,
fat.
yeah.
It's sort of using all pieces of the ingredients as we go.
Okay, and I'm going to do, this is one of the, I think, secrets of this soup is you toast, it starts by toasting in a dry, hot pan or warm pan some celery seeds, so it gets a little
Absolutely.
bit of a toasty tone. Very indicative of the layered flavors in her cookbook. And is the bacon your own?
So yes, the
Futarian tip?
Yes, the bacon is my tradition. It wouldn't be a Futa dish without some bacon. And the original recipe for the chicken with black beans calls for pork belly, but bacon works just fine too. Okay. And just as easy to sort of adapt. So again, the bacon is going to be used in both recipes. And the nice thing with this too is it is an optional addition. I'm only going to take a little bit of it. The rest I'm going to reserve for the next recipe. And then just nice and finely chopped, and this sort of can act as a garnish over the top of the salad once we're all done.
What's a salad without bacon?
What's a salad without bacon? Yes. We wouldn't be in the Midwest if it was a salad without bacon.
Right. So I'm going to add the little mirepoix at the bottom of this here to get this started. So after Erin kind of gets tired of that small town life, she does make it to college. She discovers she goes to Boston and runs into what I would say is, the first of many situations that are really connected to her gender. So much of this book is in some ways a women's story, but so much is more than that as well. But she does find herself unexpectedly pregnant, and that's certainly the fact that she's a mother and has to navigate motherhood in the midst of so many other things is definitely
absolutely
part of the story. And she begins to start having her first ideas about forming her own restaurant. So maybe we can talk a little bit about what those, how her diner vision evolved into something.
Well, and again,
more.
I think that diner history really made her think deeply about simple flavors and comfortable, familiar flavors. So, she'll do things like, how do we elevate that strawberry shortcake that we probably all had with the store-bought little molded cakes that are clearly not homemade and clearly not of a kitchen, but there's such deep nostalgia there, and I think we've all grown up having that at some point in our lives, and so she's never gone to culinary school. She's all self-taught, and most of this was behind again the counter in her father's diner, and so thinking about how she can apply those techniques to the sort of method of cooking, essentially. And I also want to mention, so I just pulled out the other half of this recipe, the butternut squash cups that have been roasting for the last 45 minutes or so. There's butter, there's nutmeg, there's cinnamon, a little bit of salt and pepper, and brown sugar, all sort of baked into the cups. And then the apple slaw is going to go right inside, and I'll leave the bacon off of yours.
You can put it on.
No. But this is sort of, again, I love this as a first course to this, especially if you're hosting a dinner party. This is a nice way to start the evening while the chicken is finishing off in the oven, which does take a few hours.
So it's also instructive for me. I think when I think of acorn squash or buttercup, I almost always serve it as a half, and then it's the whole dish. But of course, it could be quartered.
Yes, absolutely. And another alteration that I've done in the past for this is Omama's here in town has this amazing cow-based caramel this time of year, and if you want just a little extra sweet and salty, drizzling that on is just is just incredible. Yeah.
That sounds wonderful. So, Erin, in those early days, we see, and probably you identify with this as somebody who's had to get a business off the ground without much money.
Yes.
She has to find a place for the restaurant, and she walks into over and over locations that just seem abjectly terrible to the reader. And what is her response to these spaces? There's an abandoned mill, there's other spaces.
I think she has a really incredible capacity to see beauty in these spaces that a lot of other people may look at as neglect or liabilities in a lot of other situations. Again, she has this ability to take also simple things, and just really go back to, building all the tables from scratch and choosing all the silverware and all of the napkins, making the napkins with her mother.
Yes.
Like so much intention goes into the spaces she creates, and I think is really inspiring for us as a local business as well. That's a lot of how we approach what we do as well.
Yeah, really making the most of almost no money. So, and this has
Yes.
become part of her brand. That is, she didn't have money to get a bunch of dishes, so she
Yes.
goes to flea markets and
But
puts
there's also so much
together-
character in all of
Yes,
those things as well.
yeah.
Yes.
So, and she began by doing pop-up dinners. I've just added some vegetable broth here, but you could certainly use chicken broth as well. And this will just cook until everything is soft. Whoops, got to add the potato. Don't forget the potato.
Potatoes are critical. Yes.
This does.
How dare we forget starch?
Does give it a little bit of creaminess, and we'll blend the whole thing. This turns into a bisque. So she begins the idea of having kind of experiences, pop-up experiences, and she takes us along on that journey early on, sometimes cooking in some really unusual places.
Absolutely.
She rehabs a Airstream trailer. And let's see, what are you?
Rehabs the Airstream. So I'm actually working ahead a little bit. I'm getting my onion prepped for the chicken, and that's why I'm also leaving the cast iron out. So after frying the bacon, do not throw the fat away. This is the most important ingredient for the next stage.
All right.
And again, onion fried in bacon, amazing.
Okay, you heard it here. So we're going to take a little break, and you'll get to see some really inspiring pictures of Erin French at work in so many different locations. We'll be right back. Ben and I are having so much fun talking about finding freedom and cooking up the next dish. So tell me what's going on here.
Yes, so we are getting the chicken with black beans ready to go. We're using the bacon fat from the very first step. That's why it was really important to keep it on hand. I've also already browned off the chicken. And so with this chicken, I did this one with Cajun seasoning, pepper and salt and pepper. You could doctor this any way you'd like within your personal flavor palette. But next, I'm going to keep this, this beautiful bacon fat with the pan stickings in there, toss in the onion, and there's nothing better than onion and bacon together. So
again, you heard it here.
Yes.
So, and I'm going to, in tribute to so many Erin French recipes, I'm going to add butter.
She loves butter.
To the soup. So,
butter is a sacred ingredient.
This soup has been cooking down. The vegetables are all very soft here, and so I'm going to finish it with a little bit of butter, a little bit of cream, and I'm going to let that cool down a little bit, and then we'll use the stick blender to blend it all into a bisque. So I'll let this cool down a little bit, and then while that is getting a little less hot, I'm going to start the salad, which starts with a little bit of red onion that I'm going to soften with by macerating it a little bit in some white wine vinegar. So that will kind of take the edge off a little bit, and we'll set that aside while I seed a pomegranate.
Oh, awesome.
So, and it is.
So the onions and again, this after, once everything is assembled, this will go in the oven at 350 for at least 3 hours to get the meat tender. So the onions don't have to be like cooked to perfection. We're really just going for that translucent, yes, and really, again, working to pick up all the pan drippings for this one as well.
Okay, so looks great. And I'm doing sort of a coarse chop here for this red onion so that the color will be visible. And here we go, and a little bit of the white wine vinegar. So, and speaking of white wine, we should talk a little bit about how much of this is an addiction and recovery memoir, and really pretty brutal, I would say.
Yes. Well, and I think it's especially poignant because, as we mentioned before, like this journey of owning a business is, it's not gentle, it's not easy.
And the hours for restaurant work.
Especially in restaurant work, yes. Yeah. The hours, the stress level is pretty incredible on top of just owning a business to begin with. And yes, that, she's very transparent, and that is something she struggled with and worked through. But I think she is sort of, I think, one of the epitomes of this is what can happen when you push through and get help and get support. But it also was really dark for a while.
Anyone who has been through that or has loved people who've been through that, I think will really appreciate her description. So I'm going to seed a pomegranate in, so it doesn't look like I've murdered anyone. Not this time. I'm going to seed the pomegranate in water, which is my favorite way to do it. So, everybody has their own little strategy here, but I cut the ends off, and you can kind of pull this apart, and this strategy preserves, in my experience, most of the whole seeds, which is what you're going to need. And so this is
that looks like a very therapeutic.
It's very, very
practice.
Therapeutic to do. So I'm going to just be sort of gently kind of rubbing these off into the water, and then I just love doing this. I think pomegranates go on everything. So
while you're doing that, I'm reaching the stage of a little deglazing.
All right,
so
excellent.
I have my dry white wine handy. I would recommend dry, not as sweet for this. And this is going to get all of the pan stickings and drippings and all of that from the chicken and the bacon into the sauce that essentially will go with the chicken here in a moment.
Okay,
so,
wow.
Also my favorite sound in the world. And again, from the hip, it's like, that was maybe a quarter to half a cup, whatever.
Oh, seems fine.
And really, you can, again, doctor this around a little bit just in terms of how much liquid you want in your sauce at the very end.
Okay, yeah, it is beautiful. And what is the story of this beautiful pan? Which looks like it knows some history.
It has some, yes. So this one has been with me since undergrad, I think.
Oh,
very
really?
early undergrad.
Oh.
And I won't tell you how many years it's been at this point. But this was inherited. So this didn't actually come from within our family. This came from a friend of the family, I think a colleague, actually, one of my parents. And that's one of the beauties of cast iron, is they are passed on, they are inherited, they are, the more they've been used, the more they've been seasoned, the more love that is in them. And so, this gets used 3 to 5 times a week probably in our kitchen at home. This is the mainstay piece of cookware, really, for our kitchen.
And it's got really nice deep sides.
Yes.
And so you share this with Erin French, this desire to preserve, to use implements and dishes and things that have worked for a long time.
Yep.
She's got a whole little thing about cast iron, doesn't she?
She does, yes. She has a similar love affair with cast iron, I would say. And in particular, too, just from a cooking perspective, these are so great because, again, they're going to go right to the oven. They can bake, and they don't mind, but they also distribute heat so evenly and beautifully. It's really nice for, again, browning something like the chicken or sautéing onions like we're doing right now.
All right, that looks absolutely great. I'm going to set this aside just for the moment and start cutting up some of my cucumbers. So this salad is super simple. Cucumbers, mint, salt, pepper, a little bit of dried mint for another layer in there, and then dressed just with lime juice. So better do a few more of these. This is so hilarious, but I could only find key limes. So it takes 1 billion key limes. No, it takes really just the juice from one lime will probably mostly do it, but I'm doing several here. So. So once Erin French recovers, part of this, she's in a facility for a little while. True loss of dignity, and still she persists.
Yes, absolutely.
And she begins to start over in the town that you just can't make this up. Is called Freedom, Maine.
Yes. So the book title has maybe a couple of double meanings.
Yes, absolutely. So she builds on all of the experience that she has had in through her early career, and again, this is when she comes across a mill, this kind of abandoned mill that she's the queen of saying, "Oh, this has good bones."
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, here come the black beans.
Yes.
So, and these are
just standard black beans, 2 cans typically, and I put them in with the sauce, with the juice, so I don't drain these out. As this cooks in the oven for the next few hours, it will dry out a little bit, so you need this liquid. And then the final sort of finishing piece are the bay leaves, just a couple of those dotted on the surface to sort of infuse the flavor as it cooks. And the bacon that we reserved from step 1 is going to get just sort of spread over the top so that it still cooks into it. And again, I really browned, well, I didn't really brown. I could have browned it more, but it's cooked through just enough where it doesn't really have much more cooking to do at this point.
So what happens in the oven then? Just kind of the melding of flavors and the rendering of...
Really tenderizes the meat. I mean, when this is all said and done, the chicken literally should fall off the bone. Really nice and tender, deep flavors. And yeah, I would say, again, 350 for at least 2.5 to 3 hours in a perfect world. You can rush this if you need to, but I wouldn't advise it.
But one oughtn't.
No, exactly. Well, and this is a great,
Erin French would frown on that.
Exactly. Well, and this is such a great, winter season comfort food kind of a vibe. And I mean, it'll stick to your bones, it'll stick to your ribs, all of those pieces. And through the magic of television, this one is going to slide into the oven, and I'm going to pull out the one that I made last night.
All right. Smelling fantastic.
In a different cast iron.
Oh, ta-da! I'm just layering in the cucumbers and the, I'm going to use a slotted spoon here, some of the marinated onion and some more of the pomegranate and a little bit of salt and pepper, flaky sea salt and pepper as we go, and then I'm also going to chop.
It smells
up
amazing, by the way,
well,
like so fresh.
Yeah. This is in winter months. This and citrus are the things that keep us alive.
Yeah, very that, yes.
So Erin really has been a success at this point. You can go to her website and follow her on Substack, and I mean, her restaurant at this point is so popular.
It's a lottery. Yes,
it's
a lottery to get into the restaurant. Yes.
Okay, let's see. I'm going to make a little noise here. So this just to show you, this blends completely. I'll finish blending this a little bit, but the potatoes give this a super silky flavor here, and it really is nice, completely smooth, and we'll finish it off in the final segment with a little bit of softly whipped cream and some fresh celery leaves. So we can learn a lot from this person who continues to reinvent herself, and she really invites her whole family to participate. You have some experience with this as well.
We do. In our local business, my mom is sort of beginning to fill in as our floral expert, working with dried florals that we're growing ourselves. So there's a lot of how the Lost Kitchen operates that's inspiring how we operate as well.
That's great. I see why you recommended this book. So we're going to take a little break. You'll get to see some of the unusual spaces that Erin French cooks in and a sense of the interiors. We'll be right back. Ben Futa and I have plated these beautiful dishes inspired by Erin French's Finding Freedom. Tell us about the dishes you made.
Absolutely. So again, we started with the roasted buttercup squash with the apple slaw, and then the chicken with black beans.
Okay, gorgeous. And I see you left the bacon off, mine personal touch.
Yes.
And I've made this lovely fresh pomegranate and mint and cucumber salad, and Erin French's creamy celery soup. I'm going to top it off with a little bit of savory whipped cream. If you haven't ever had just a little bit of savory whipped cream, friends, give it a whirl.
Yes.
And a little bit of celery leaf and pepper. So what stays with you from this book? And why might somebody want to read it?
I think it's a story of resilience and reinvention. And so I feel like if anyone is at a point in their life where they are also feeling the need to do any of those two things, which I feel like a lot of us might be at this moment, I think it's a really great place to go to ground and to just get inspired and know that even as dark as it could be, there's some real beauty that can come out of darkness.
Yeah, and I think real insights on what it's like to feel the responsibility of owning your own business, and the responsibility of others of us to support those businesses. So I'm sure that the Botany Shop is here in town, and also very proud that you're a graduate of IU South Bend.
Yes.
So those sustainability degrees have really taken hold. So Erin French's memoir inspires all of us, I think, to be ready to reinvent ourselves and to see, anything from a hollowed out mill, an empty space, as full of potential any other part of our life we might walk into and say,
Absolutely.
either this is a disaster or
And also just
a place to invent.
embracing home.
Embracing home, yeah, what a beautiful way to put it. So cooking fresh, cooking with ingredients in season, not forgetting that food should be beautiful,
Yes.
and that you're such a good placemaker. She
Oh,
also
yes, thank you.
understands what it's like to make a place that people want to be. So we hope you'll read this book. Thanks so much for joining us. I hope you read adventurously and cook adventurously, and we will see you next time on Dinner and a Book. Oh, let's have a toast. To you.
Cheers.
This WNIT local production has been made possible in part by viewers like you. Thank you.
Dinner and a Book is supported by the Rex and Alice A. Martin Foundation of Elkhart, celebrating the spirit of Alice Martin and her love of good food and good friends.